My ex took my furniture and laughed, so I started a home decor channel that blew up. Now she tries to collab and I leave her on read. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I used to think building a home with someone meant building a future. When Liv and I finally moved into our first apartment together, it felt like a victory lap after years of scraping by. We'd been through everything: job instability, long commutes, and nights where dinner was just instant noodles, but this place felt like proof that we'd made it. The walls were bare, but in my head, I could already see the life we'd fill them with. I remember hauling boxes up 3 flights of stairs while she laughed from the doorway, saying, "You're lucky I have good taste. This place is going to look amazing." And she wasn't wrong. Liv had an eye for detail. She picked the curtains, the throw pillows, the rugs, while I handled the budget, the furniture, and the electronics. Every paycheck, I'd set aside something extra to buy the next piece: our dining table, our TV, our couch. She'd call me her little provider, and back then, I thought it was affectionate. The first few weeks were blissful. We'd drink cheap wine on the balcony, planning how we'd host game nights, maybe even adopt a cat. She'd post apartment photos online with captions like, "Our cozy little love nest," and I'd smile, feeling proud that I helped build that comfort. But there were moments, small, unsettling ones, that I brushed off. Like when she'd say, "This place just feels more me than you," or joke to friends, "He just lives here. I make it a home." I'd laugh it off thinking she was teasing. I didn't realize she was testing ownership, laying quiet claims on everything I'd bought. At night, when I'd look around at our dimly lit apartment, filled with the scent of new wood and lavender candles, I thought I was finally safe. I had no idea that soon, every piece of this so-called home would become evidence of just how wrong I was. At first, it was little things. Liv would criticize how I folded laundry, saying it looked like a guy raised in a frat house. When I hung a framed poster in the hallway, something from a local artist I admired, she wrinkled her nose and said, "That's not really the vibe I'm curating." Curating. That was her word. As if our apartment was some museum exhibit, and I was just lucky enough to breathe the same air. I tried to shrug it off. It's just her taste, I told myself. I'd never been stylish. Liv knew what looked good. But the comments kept coming. I'd suggest painting a wall, and she'd respond, "Stick to what you know, babe." When I ordered a side table online, she sent it back without asking. "Trust me," she said, "this place needs elevation." I started staying longer at work. Not because I had more to do, just because I didn't feel like going home. Every time I walked in, there was something new. A vintage lamp, expensive candles, wall art I didn't recognize. It wasn't our space anymore, it was hers. I'd come home to find the furniture rearranged and hear, "Do you even notice the energy I'm creating?" One night, I was scrolling on my phone in bed and saw a reel of a couple laughing while painting their walls. I showed her and said, "We should do something like this together." She didn't even look up. "You and a paintbrush? That's a disaster waiting to happen." I laughed with her, even though it didn't feel funny. But something changed in me that night. I looked around and realized I had paid for everything in that room. The bed frame, the mattress, the shelves, but it didn't feel like mine. I was a guest in my own home, and I think deep down she knew that. It happened on a Thursday, one of those quiet gray evenings where the world feels muted. I had just gotten home from work, still wearing my ID badge, and saw the coffee table, the one we built together, split at the leg. "Did you lean on it or something?" I asked casually. Liv didn't even look up from her laptop. "It's cheap," she said flatly. "Like most of the stuff you picked, that one landed harder than I expected." I sat down, tried to breathe past the anger bubbling up in my throat. "Liv, seriously, why do you talk to me like that lately?" She snapped her laptop shut and looked at me like I'd just interrupted a board meeting. "Maybe because we're not working," she said. "You're always in your head. You don't help with anything that matters. This place, it's all on me." I stared at her in disbelief. "I pay for almost everything here." She laughed, a short, bitter exhale that cut through the silence. "Congratulations. You bought furniture. Doesn't mean you built a life." That night, I slept on the couch, if you can call it sleeping. She stayed in the bedroom, scrolling endlessly on her phone, giggling every so often like she wasn't tearing down a life we'd built. 2 days later, I came home to an empty apartment, and I don't mean she moved out. I mean she moved everything out. The couch was gone. The TV gone. Our bed, our bookshelf, my gaming chair, the coffee table, even the rug. Only the Wi-Fi router was still plugged into the wall like a cruel joke. A single note sat on the counter, scribbled in her familiar looping handwriting. Don't take it personally. I just upgraded. My stomach dropped. That night, I sat on the hardwood floor, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the dent her dresser left in the wall, and I realized she didn't just leave, she stripped me. I didn't want to tell anyone. Not at first. I figured if I kept quiet, it wouldn't feel as real. But word travels fast, especially when people like Liv make sure of it. 3 days after she left, I got a message from one of our mutual friends. Hey man, sorry to hear what happened. She told us you two split. I responded with a simple, yeah, rough week. What I didn't expect was the follow-up, screenshots. A group chat I used to be in, now without me, filled with her side of the story. She said I was cold, distant, impossible to live with, claimed I didn't support her ambitions, didn't clean, didn't try. She's saying you wouldn't even let her hang her own art, one message read. That hit hard. I was the one who bought the damn frames. The worst was when someone sent me a photo from her Instagram story. It was my couch, in a completely new apartment, staged with trendy pillows and a caption, finally free to decorate without dead weight. I stared at that post for a long time. Not because I missed the couch, but because I missed believing we were a team. Even my sister called me, voice hesitant. Did you do something? Liv says you were emotionally unavailable. I laughed bitterly. I gave her everything I had. She paused. Well, sometimes that's not enough, I guess. That sentence stuck with me. I started avoiding people. I turned off notifications, stopped answering calls, stopped going out. The apartment echoed now. Every step sounded like a reminder. No furniture, no warmth, no music, just silence. And in that silence, all I could hear was her laugh. That cold, mocking laugh, the one she left behind with the note. I hit a low I didn't know I had. It wasn't just the furniture or the betrayal or the humiliation, it was the emptiness that followed. I was living in a half-dead space, like a skeleton version of my own life. The hardwood floors creaked under my every step, and the echo of the empty apartment made it feel like the walls were mocking me. I'd eat dinner cross-legged on the floor, usually something pathetic like cold leftover pizza. I'd scroll mindlessly on my phone for hours, numbing the ache behind my ribs. That's when it happened. One night, probably around 2 a.m., I landed on a random reel. Just a guy silently sanding down an old dresser, repainting it into something beautiful. No music, no flashy cuts. Just the rhythm of transformation. I must have watched it 10 times. Something about it soothed me. Not just the craft, but the quiet. Like someone turning pain into peace. I looked around my barren apartment thinking, what do I even have left? Then I noticed a busted stool in the corner. The one thing she didn't take, probably because it wobbled too much. I pulled it into the kitchen, grabbed some sandpaper from a drawer I hadn't touched since we moved in, and started working on it. It was clumsy and uneven, but it was something. That night, I recorded myself doing it with my phone propped up on a cereal box. No plan, no script. Just me fixing something broken. I posted the video with a simple caption. When your ex takes everything but your creativity. I didn't expect anyone to see it. I definitely didn't expect people to feel it, but by the time I woke up, it had already started. I woke up to over 18,000 views. At first I thought it was a glitch. I blinked at my phone, still half asleep, wondering if TikTok had some kind of bot problem. But the comments were real. Dozens turned into hundreds. Dude, this hit way too hard. Been there. Fixing furniture is therapy. Post more. This is healing content. People weren't just watching, they were connecting. They didn't ask for a perfect ending. They just wanted to witness the process. So I kept going. I posted another video, me reattaching the stool leg with a borrowed drill and painting over the scratches. I added a voiceover this time. It wasn't anything polished, just me saying, she took the furniture, but she didn't take my hands. That line got clipped and reposted all over. A few days later, I found a broken side table on the curb and brought it home. My hands were stained with varnish and glue, but I didn't care. The work silenced everything Liv had made me believe, that I was just the money, not the vision. that I didn't belong in our space, but with every screw I tightened and corner I sanded, I was reclaiming something. My worth wasn't in what she approved of. It was in what I could create. My third video crossed 100K views. Brands started following. One even messaged, offering free tools if I tagged them. I laughed out loud in that empty apartment, thinking how absurd it all felt. No couch, no bed, but something real was finally taking shape, and this time, no one was going to take it from me. I was riding this strange high, broken furniture, fixer-upper projects, and a growing audience that somehow made me feel less alone, until I saw her face again. It started with a tag. Someone in the comments said, "Isn't this the girl who took her ex's stuff and dipped?" I almost ignored it, figured it was just a random internet mix-up. But curiosity got the better of me. I clicked the tag. There she was, Liv, in a sponsored collab reel with another wannabe lifestyle influencer. The set behind her looked familiar. Too familiar, the couch, my couch. The same couch I paid for, hauled up 3 floors, and fell asleep on after double shifts. It was staged now with trendy pillows and warm filters, and Liv was talking about reclaiming your space after toxic relationships. My stomach flipped. Not from anger, at least not at first, but from the surrealness of it. She wasn't just erasing me. She was performing the narrative. Selling the world a story where she was the one healing. In the comments, someone said, "This couch looks like the one from that viral furniture guy's videos." That opened the floodgates. People started stitching the 2 clips together, side by side, her reel about empowerment and my original post, captioned, "When your ex takes everything but your creativity." It went viral overnight. Not just my video, our story. People were taking sides in the comments. Some said I was being petty. Others said she was a thief and a fraud. Liv turned off comments on her post within 24 hours. I didn't respond. I didn't tag her. I didn't feed the fire. Instead, I filmed a video sanding down a scratched dresser. No voiceover, just the soft sound of transformation. But this time I added a new caption. "She can take the furniture. I'll take the story." It started with a heart emoji on one of my stories. Just a silent little pulse from Liv's account, like nothing had ever happened. I stared at it for a while. Didn't respond. Didn't even open the message. A day later, she sent a DM. "Hey! Been watching your stuff? Super inspiring. You've really grown." I didn't reply. Then came another. "We should totally collab. Our audiences would love it. Plus, people already think it's funny we're both in the decor niche." I could practically hear her voice, syrupy sweet, like she was doing me a favor. I didn't know whether to laugh or scream. 2 months ago, I was sitting on the floor of my apartment, heartbroken and stripped of everything I owned. And now the same person who left me with nothing wanted to ride the wave of my healing journey, for content. I showed the messages to my buddy Nate. He squinted at the screen and said, "She thinks she's entitled to your rebound." "That's wild," I nodded, locking my phone. She doesn't get to repurpose my pain for clout. Instead of replying, I filmed a video. It was simple, just me flipping an old IKEA shelf into something clean and modern. But the voiceover hit different. Some people burn your house down and show up asking for a key when you rebuild. It exploded. People flooded the comments. That quote, chills. "Don't you dare collab with her. Protect this man at all costs." Liv never sent another message. But a mutual friend texted me, "Liv says you're being immature, that you owe her a response." I replied with one word. Nope, I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was just done. Let her perform her narrative. I'd already found mine. It's wild how fast things can change when you stop giving your energy to the wrong people. My little side project turned into a full-time thing before I even realized what was happening. One video hit 2.3 million views, then another. Then a brand deal slid into my inbox, offering tools, materials, and even a budget to furnish other people's spaces. Suddenly, I wasn't just fixing broken furniture. I was helping people fix pieces of themselves. One woman DM'd me saying, "I watch your videos with my son. We left an abusive home, and your work reminds me that new beginnings are possible." I sat there staring at the message, unable to reply for a while. It hit me harder than any viral number ever could. I started adding journal-style voiceovers, stories behind each item, the nightstand that reminded me of the one in my childhood home. The coffee table I designed because I couldn't afford the one I originally bought with Liv, and the audience grew. Podcasts invited me on. My face appeared in a BuzzFeed article. The guy who turned heartbreak into a home decor empire. I barely recognized myself anymore. Not just in the mirror, but in the way I spoke, walked, moved through the world. One afternoon, I stood in my now fully furnished apartment, soft lighting, handmade shelves, a couch I built myself, and realized how quiet it was. But not the lonely kind, the peaceful kind. I filmed a slow pan of the space and posted it with a caption. It's not about getting it all back. It's about building something better from what they left behind. The video hit 1 million views in under 24 hours. Liv's name didn't cross my mind once while editing. And for the first time, that felt like real closure. It was a Sunday when I got the message. Not from Liv this time, this one came from a mutual friend, Jules. Hey, weird question. Liv wants to talk. She says she owes you an apology. I stared at my screen for a while. Not angry, just tired. Jules followed up a few minutes later. She said she misses how simple things used to be. That she didn't realize what she had until everyone else started noticing it. There it was. The real reason, not regret, not healing, recognition. She didn't miss me, she missed the spotlight, the energy, the value. I asked Jules, did she ever apologize for how she left? He hesitated, then typed, she said she was overwhelmed back then. That you'd understand now because you're in a better place. Better place, yeah. A place where I finally understood my worth. A place where her chaos wasn't welcome anymore. I told Jules, gently but firmly, there's nothing left to talk about. He replied with a thumbs up and never brought it up again. I sat on my balcony that evening, watching the sun dip below the skyline. The same view Liv once called boring. Now, it looked golden. I thought about all the nights I spent broken on that floor, all the noise she filled my head with, all the self-doubt she planted. Then I looked around me, at the room filled with pieces I had restored. Repainted, redesigned. I wasn't looking for revenge. I wasn't chasing validation. I had something better. Peace. And the silence that followed her absence, it finally felt like music. A few weeks later, I got an email from someone named Mariah. She introduced herself as a small creator, just starting out. She wrote, I saw your videos after my fiancé left and took almost everything. Watching you fix things made me believe I could too. I don't have a big platform, but I'd love to collab on something real. There was something about the way she said something real that stopped me. I clicked through her page. It wasn't polished, no fancy lighting, no viral edits. Just quiet footage of her repainting her grandma's old kitchen chairs, talking softly about memories tied to them. I messaged back, let's build something. She came over the following weekend, carrying a beat-up thrift store coffee table and the kind of nervous energy I recognized instantly. We filmed side by side, her sanding while I stained, both of us talking about the weird way pain turns into purpose when you're working with your hands. At one point, she said, it's like the wood remembers everything that broke it, but it still lets you start over. That line hit like a punch to the gut. We left it in the video, untouched. When we posted the collab, it blew up. Not because it was flashy, but because it was honest. Comments poured in. This feels like a hug. Real healing, no drama, just truth. Thank you for showing us what starting over looks like. Mariah messaged me later that night. Thanks for trusting a stranger. I replied, you weren't a stranger. Just someone who understood the quiet, and for the first time since Liv left, I didn't feel like a guy rebuilding after loss. I felt like someone building with purpose, and maybe, just maybe, with the right people this time. The last shot in the video is always the same. A wide pan across my living room, soft morning light through the curtains, the handmade bookshelf, the coffee table I built from scraps. I usually keep the voiceovers simple, but this time, I said something that had been sitting in my chest for months. She took the couch. I took the lesson. That line hit harder than I expected. Maybe because it was finally true. People always ask me what happened with Liv. whether she ever apologized, whether I forgave her. Some ask if I ever got the couch back. But here's the thing. I don't want it back. I don't want anything from that version of my life, because that couch sat in a room filled with silence, resentment, and performance. This one, the one I built, it sits in a space filled with music, paint fumes, mismatched wood, and peace. I walk through this home every day and touch things I made, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. There's something sacred about making a place your own after someone tried to make you feel like a guest in it. Sometimes people DM me, saying their partner left or they lost everything or they don't know where to begin. I always say the same thing. Start small. Fix one thing. Even if it's just a chair. Because healing doesn't happen in declarations. It happens in sanding down the damage. One layer at a time. I lock the door behind me now with a quiet kind of pride. Not spite, not bitterness, just closure. The channel isn't about revenge. It's not about proving her wrong. It's about building something she never understood. A life I don't need to be validated for. A life where the only person I'm trying to impress is me.